This meeting is being transcribed. This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning. Today is Monday, February 5th. This is the regularly scheduled Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board meeting. It is 9 o'clock and we will get started shortly. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you to start our meeting.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We would like to say hello and welcome to our newest members over here. Ms. Roxanne, I'll let you take care of those introductions in just a minute. The first thing we want to do is call this meeting to order and then acknowledge our guests. Do we have any schools represented out here today?
Yes, sir.
Well, can you tell us which school you're from?
Bird Technical College.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate that. Ms. Roxana, the next order of business would be to call the roll, I believe.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Ron Gillihan.
Here.
Becky Russell. Judy McAllister is not here with us today. Tamika Turner. Mona Sappenfield is also not here. Ms. Amy Tanksley. Present. Ryan Timmons.
Here.
Anita Charlton. Here. Lane Petty.
Here.
Monica Lemons.
Here.
Mr. Jeffrey Moran is also not here today. David McElreath.
Here.
And our newest member, Mr. Perry Baldwin. Thank you. And I want to welcome our newest member. He is our public member that has just started, Mr. Perry Baldwin. Welcome to our first meeting. Anything we can answer, our chair does a fantastic job, as do all the board members. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Welcome again. And to participate. Ms. Roxana, the next order of business would be the approval of the 2023 minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections or deletions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that the minutes be approved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Quick announcement, there will be time at the end of the meeting today for public statements. We'll grant a brief period of time for those if they're necessary. And Ms. Roxana, we would need to move into the legislative updates, I believe.
Thank you, sir. Yes, members and those watching, participating remotely through Teams or watching us through the recorded video on YouTube. At this time of year when our legislative session is in full force, we present any bills that have addressed the industry that you all should be aware of. Obviously, if you want additional information on how to keep up with bills, feel free to reach me directly, or Joe would be happy to walk you through that process. As you know, bills can change right after the meeting. There could be something filed and we've not informed you. So as of Friday morning, what you're looking before you are two bills, and they are, I'm just going to read the bills on the record and then let Joe explain them. You've got Senate Bill 1752 and Senate Bill 1668, and they are both on your iPads. And Joe, if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Roxana. Good morning, members of the board. Just quickly, I wanted to summarize these two bills and kind of give you a scope of our interpretation, the Department of Commerce and Insurance on them, and then we can go from there. Let's go ahead and start with Senate Bill 1668. This bill is creating a alcohol license for companies whose primary service is not the sale of alcohol. So theoretically, there was an article written suggesting that this license could theoretically apply to the dual shops where they could serve an alcoholic beverage. I actually wrote the bill analysis for the department on this piece of legislation. As it is currently written, it's not going to affect our licensees because the laws are very clear. The cosmetology rules and then the Barber statute said that alcohol cannot be sold. Okay, so the license wouldn't apply to our licensees. They don't qualify as a restricted retail business that would fall under the license. As you all know, they can serve alcohol, but they cannot sell it. So we don't anticipate that this piece of legislation will affect our licensees because they are not allowed to sell alcohol. And then the second piece of legislation, this would be Senate Bill 1752. This will potentially have an impact, and I believe a good one, on students that are seeking licenses underneath Cosmo or Barber. It would extend the Tennessee Promise Scholarship, which is eligible for individuals that graduate from a Tennessee high school to attend a community or technical college free of tuition. And this bill would essentially allow cosmetology or barber schools that have operated in the state for at least 10 consecutive years, that are accredited by the National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences, Inc., and that is authorized by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission to offer diploma programs in cosmetology, anesthesiology, and Master of Barbering. So, that would hopefully grant financial opportunities to future licensees that don't have that ability right now. So, thank you.
Wonderful. That's a great thing, I think, coming up for folks who could actually benefit from that a lot. It's been long look forward to. Are there any questions for Joe on these? Okay. When I recognize the schools, it happens that one of my students has just joined us. So welcome and thank you for participating in the meeting this morning. Glad to see one of my young folks here this morning. Ms. Roxana, the next thing on the list is Robert's Rules.
Thank you, sir. And I'll probably take care of both of the next two items here. The first meeting of each year, we have to determine and vote to adopt Robert's Rules of Order on how to conduct ourselves during our meetings. Joe will be happy to explain if anyone has questions on how those motions are rolled out and so forth. But if there are no questions, we would need a motion to adopt following our meetings through 2024 with Robert's Rules of Order.
So move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve and accept the use of Robert's Rules of Order. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next item, again, first meeting of the year, is to elect our chair and vice chair for the meetings that will be held during 2024. This is pursuant to TCA Code 62-4-105, and the members would serve one full year. Currently, our chair is Ron Gillihan, and our vice chair is Becky Russell. There are no limitations, but the first thing I want to consider is if we can have a motion or consideration for our chair and vote on that, and then we'll do vice chair second, if that's okay. Do we have any recommendations?
I make a motion that Ron be reelected as chair.
I'll second.
I have a second by Ms. Lane Petty. The motion is to reelect our current chair, Ron Gillihan, as chair for 2024. We have a motion and a second. All those in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ron. And thank you for all that you do. I think we definitely all mean that.
Yes.
The next item of business would be for our vice chair, and I would need a motion to consider whoever you would like to appoint.
With Miss Rip.
I'll
That's a
second that.
motion. We have a motion by Ms. Lane Petty and a second by Mr. David McElreath to reappoint Ms. Becky Russell as our vice chair. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Becky. Same. You both help with everything that comes up and are so knowledgeable that we truly appreciate it. If it's okay with you, Chairman Gillihan, I'll proceed with our applications appearing before the board. Members on your iPads, especially for our new members, I'll make sure to give us page numbers. We're going to start on page 8, and the first school before you, pardon me, is Lawrenceburg Technical College. This is a change in location for a cosmetology school. Ms. Shania Shroom is participating on the call through Teams in order to answer any questions you have. This school is located in Lawrenceburg. You have before you the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. The application is a little bit lengthier because this is an accredited school, and so the catalog oftentimes has more than what we need specifically for our industry, but I'll turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan, with any questions.
Thank you, Roxana. Ms. Shroom, thank you for joining us this morning. Probably just have a couple of quick questions for you. This is a change of location, that's correct?
So, yes, sir.
Okay. Can I ask how far you're actually transferring your location, and is it perceptible that it will be a hardship for your students to travel that distance?
So it's actually probably not even a full mile. It's about 3/4 of a mile down the road. It is just a larger facility. We have grown exponentially over the last couple of years. The current building that we're in is like 2,300 square feet, and you can fit about 10 of those schools into this new location. So less than a full mile, right off the edge of the square where we're currently at.
That's wonderful. It's my sincere hope that you'll be able to fill that whole space up very soon. I did have
Absolutely, thank you.
I did have a couple of questions or comments here as I went through your application. We always do review these. I noticed that in your enrollment agreement, while you do have your statements that the students acknowledge that they've read and received their enrollment contracts, there is a clause that says that there needs to be a statement there that's before any payments are made by the students.
Okay.
One little thing that I'd like to see you add in there if you don't mind. And also, I did not find a policy that requires, where you're stating your policy at least, to keep your full-time and part-time students' files separately. And I had one question about your programs. Are you offering the apprentice program?
We are not. No, sir. We are accredited, so we're not interested in doing that.
Exactly. Thank you. Those were my comments, and that's all I had.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have one question, and that is about the hours of operation. I didn't see that. It may be there, and I've just looked over it.
So it's on the very first page, which is the application. It says proposed days and hours of operation right under manager and ID number.
I think it's page 10.
Seen it.
Yeah, Ms. Roxanne, on my end, it's the very first page, the application that we submitted to you.
If you look at the document I sent you back that the board members will be reviewing, that's I need the page number from that.
It's just it's 1 out of 31.
Perfect, thank you.
That's the document I have pulled up.
I do see where it says the student is scheduled to attend a total of number of hours per week, and their personal schedule is, but I don't see the school's hours.
So what we would like to see is that your school is open from 9 to 5 or whatever the hours of business are. That way, if an inspector is coming, then they know when your students should be in class.
Hey, are you seeing the very first page, which is the application? That's where it's showing me proposed days and hours of operation: Monday 6 to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Thursday 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I do see it. I see it in the application form that's submitted to the state office. What Ms. Russell's referring to is it really probably needs to be on that page in your enrollment agreement itself.
Correct.
So if you could add that line in there. It's the information is correct on the application as you indicated, but it's just not in the enrollment agreement itself.
Enrollment agreement. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we can add that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Members, do we have anything else? You've heard this information. Do we have any recommendations or motions?
I'll make a motion for approval.
We have a motion for approval with those changes, David? Yes. With those changes to be submitted. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. congratulations on your new location, and good luck. Hope everything goes well.
Thank you very much.
Shrum, if you will send me the revisions that they've requested, and then whenever you're ready for an inspection, you'll email me directly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Next on your iPads, this starts on page 97 of your iPads. This is 731 Vibes Lash University. This is a new aesthetic school. Their desire is to be an eyelash specialty school. So you have participating remotely is Ms. Rachel Schultz. She has provided the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. This school is located in Paris. Before I turn it over to you for further conversations and to chat with Ms. Schultz, as you know from the new eyelash specialty license and shop, the statute only opened the cosmetology side, and in the schools, it did not create a specialty eyelash school. So we have had several inquiries about that. This would be an aesthetic school that will not offer aesthetics. They will just be choosing to offer eyelash. And we believe that that flexibility is there for the board to approve them doing that. And so I just wanted to add that piece of clarification. And if the board decides that this works, we may have other schools opening just to do that as well in the future. Thank you, Chairman. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Roxana. Ms. Schultz, could you tell us a little bit about your program?
Hi, good morning. Yes, sir. I've been doing eyelashes for several years, and I've been teaching the lash certification course through a company called Glad Lash to already licensed individuals. But now since that lash license has passed, I'm interested in continuing my career in teaching, any individual the lash license. So I would love to open the school. It's here located in Paris, Tennessee. I want to have, I'm going to use the Milady curriculum, and they have a great program for the student where they can do a lot of the work online, and it's tracked. And then we come into the classroom and do hands-on. And, it's a 300-hour course, so it should go pretty quickly. And I have several interested here in my city. I'm just looking forward to hopefully getting this passed and starting the school.
Well, that sounds good. When I'm looking at your application, the first thing that kind of strikes me here is on your floor plan. I'm not really discerning a lot of information from your floor plan. I do see that you have 500 square foot of it says classroom space. What is the actual dimensions or what is the actual space that you have for your facility?
Okay, yeah, I had a duplex kind of building where on one side there's 2,000 square feet total on both sides. One side is my salon space, and the other 2,000 square feet is would be the classroom. So I have in the front of the building I have it set up with like desk and tables and things for the classroom, and then you go through a room and there's lash stations set up and an additional bathroom.
Okay.
So that's how my floor plan set up.
So the space for the program that you're wanting to add here is simply the 500 square feet. You don't really have this diagram broken down into this is areas for the reclining chairs I see and for the salon services rooms. How big are those spaces?
Yeah, the salon services rooms are very small. One's probably like 300 square feet, but the big section takes up the majority of the space, which is at least 1,000 square feet for where they would be practicing and working.
Okay. Now, you're not anticipating these students crossing over into your salon on the other side of that duplex?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on this particular item. I think I would like to see you submit a redrawn plan here, because I'd like to see a little more dimensionality in that. It's hard to tell how you're actually going to utilize the space and what's available for the students' use. We're going to move right on down the list. In your enrollment agreement, there are certain things that are required in the agreement, as well as could be in your catalog. One of the things was you do have the specification of the clock hours for instruction, but you're missing the approximate number of weeks or months to be spelled out in that document. And I believe, unless I overlooked it, I believe also missing in your enrollment agreement would be a listing of your business hours or hours of operations for the students, as the previous school was. Same statement of the student acknowledging that they've received their information before making any payments under this enrollment agreement was missing as well, unless you can direct me to that.
On page 3 of the enrollment agreement, I do have that the days of operation are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And right above that, I have this course takes 8 weeks. Yes, sir, for full time. So
okay, and that's the only program you have is a full time?
I have the part time as well. It's the sentence after, so
part time is 20.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell me, you've got them going to school for 40 hours, but you're open for a lot more than 40 hours. Could you break that down into when the full and part-time students would be there? I'd like for the students to be able to see, and it could be multiple sections. I'd like for the students to be able to see that they would be expected to be there at this time on Mondays, or whatever days you're open. I don't want them to not know when they're supposed to be in school.
Yes, ma'am. I can be more specific. If I wanted to be specific for like each specific student, say if they're doing the part-time and they're coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then another student might come Thursday, Friday, how would I specify that? Or I can just keep it,
so you can
5 to 9.
You can kind of put a grid in there and then handwrite those students in, but your full-time should definitely have specific times that they should be there.
Okay. And I also wanted to give them the opportunity to do some of it virtually through the Milady program, where they, when they're doing the book work, it's tracking, it has the Milady service. It's called SEMA. They have a bunch of educational opportunities through a program where the students can do it virtually as well.
So the virtual
the time is tracked through that program as well.
The virtual program that you're speaking of, would you be doing that as synchronous work or asynchronous work?
Asynchronous.
I'm seeing on page 109 as well, you're offering a Barber instructor training program.
The instructor, yes, sir. For my plan is I have an employee that I want to hire to help with the lash student. So she's licensed. She's a licensed esthetician. So it would be an esthetician instructor to help with the lashes.
In your program, it says Barber instructor training program, and then outlines the curriculum. Is there credentials to
No,
offer?
there is not. That would have to be removed.
Okay.
Get that, Ms. Schultz. The The credentials would not, for the barber instructor, would not be valid here. They cannot be approved.
No,
Okay.
no, sir, no.
If it's an esthetician, the esthetician can definitely teach the curriculum, but it have to be an aesthetics instructor or a cosmetology instructor. No one else at this time, as the statute is written, can teach the 300-hour course.
Yes. So, right, I'm an instructor. I have my instructor's license. I would want to teach the lash course, and if I could teach the instructor course,
Absolutely.
that I would like to do that for an esthetician. I'm sorry, that's a typo.
Can we let Roxana respond?
And that is fine. I think back to our member Ryan Timmons, what he pointed out is on your page 4, where you've got barber instructor training curriculum. That cannot be. It would be the cosmetology. It really
Yes.
just call it the instructor training. That's 300 hours.
Yeah.
You can, yes.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's a typo. It shouldn't say anything about bar.
Perfect. Ms. Turner?
I have a question about the floor plan again. I see that the front door entrance goes right into the classroom for the school side. Would we approve that, or does the classroom have to be separated from the entrance?
There's no statute or regulation that says it has to be separated. It might be a good practice, but there's no statute.
And on the salon space side, where it says additional classroom space if needed, we do have to keep the schools and the salon separated, correct? Okay.
Right.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
And you bring up a good point. I don't see it in this floor plan, but we've had 2, if not 3 schools not fully separate the classroom. The statement in the rule does say separated. And so I want to point that out as schools are applying. I'm actually reinforcing that because it's hard to put in a wall. A curtain doesn't really separate, but we can get creative with the walls. All that to say, it envisions that the classroom isn't wide open for the public to work through, and so that the students are interrupted all the time. But I think here we do see that they're doors. Sometimes in the floor plan they look like doors, and we get there and they're not.
That was my question, because if the patrons are not coming in when they're offering services, if the patrons are not coming in through the salon, they'll be coming right in through the classroom.
Brian, did we answer your question? Okay. Ms. Schultz, I'd like to take a step back and just make sure I understood correctly. Did you say your online or your distance education, you anticipate that being asynchronous versus synchronous? Which one?
Ms. Schultz, can you hear us?
I'm sorry, I got muted somehow. But just for clarification, that the asynchronous would be that they can do it on their own time. Is that right? And the synchronous would be we would do it all together. Because this is a go at your own pace.
Your understanding is correct. Synchronous is the only thing that the board has been approving.
Okay.
So with synchronous, it would mean that they are under the direct supervision at the time of participation. That they would not be able to just come and go at their own will and pace at any hours of the day or night without an instructor being actively engaged. So.
Okay.
So.
Yes, I will be doing synchronous.
Okay.
I will make sure that I'm there and we're doing it all together.
Okay. All right. What is your backup plan for logging your hours for your students that they've earned? I assume you're going to be taking the time and attendance through SEMA or such a program as that. What is your backup?
Yes, sir.
What is your
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've looked into, paper logs and Google Sheets as well, but the Milady has introduced me to this Campus Nexus or the Fame Advantage, so I plan to.
Thank you.
There's
we
lots
found
of
that. Thank you so
opportunities.
much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or concerns?
I'm not seeing a curriculum for the lash, and while the state board doesn't really have a specific curriculum, I think that you should have a curriculum written, so what it is that you plan on taking your students through, so they've got an understanding of what's going to be required of them.
Becky, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just didn't want us to. On page 102 of ours, where she has number 4, proof of applicant, I think those bullet points are what are the bullet points from the law. The law actually breaks down eyelash extension, the sanitation, but that would be the piece that you're wanting her to
Okay.
copy and paste, right? That's all we've got.
Okay, perfect. And then the other thing is I didn't find graduation requirements. I see examination requirements, but not what you would actually require before they graduate.
Well, the completion of the 300 hours, and then, just to make sure that they understand the proper sanitation practices, occupational health and safety practices, the application practices, isolation and separation procedures. And like I said, I'm using the Milady curriculum, and they have several tests and very helpful information laid out. And, and then, of course, I'll make sure that they can do an application hands-on before they graduate.
Okay, so what I would like for you to do is add a section in there that says graduation requirements. And as an example, not this has to be yours, but as an example, you might say that to graduate, all monies have to be paid, or you've completed the curriculum within a set length of time, or, anything that they have to do just to make sure that they understand everything that has to be taken care of before you issue their diploma from your institution. You could say that, they have to complete the curriculum and it's at a certain percentage, 70% or whatever the percentage is that you want. That's the type of graduation requirements that I'm looking for.
And you can obviously add in more, whatever your own personal policies in your school policies would be, but there's some minimum things that we think are necessary for students to know before they enroll. One other thing that I had, and I'll let you tell me where it is in the catalog, the regulation requires that you have a statement regarding refunds that they're issued to the student within 45 days of the last day of attendance. Can you tell me where that is located in your documents?
It's on page 3. No refunds.
No, 9.
I did see that one. I did see that one. And while that is the case, if there were a scenario under whatever legalities might exist, there still needs to be that statement that in the event any refunds would be issued within 45 days of the last day of attendance. That is in the regulations. Okay. Do we have any other questions or concerns? Okay. We have a recommendation.
We can't hear you, Ms. Turner.
Speaking will help.
Oh.
I have a recommendation, but I don't know how to word it yet. But I do recommend that the floor plan is redone and all of the that we had made to implement and into all of her documents. I think that we should have those done first before approving. So I don't know how to word that in some words.
What I think I'm hearing is that you would like her to resubmit with the necessary corrections that we've discussed today. And would you like her to be able to resubmit those to Roxana to verify that she's made those changes, or reappear before the board at the next meeting?
My suggestion.
Pull the mic near you. There you go, sweetie. All right.
So I suggest that to reappear with the correct breakdown and the measurements of the floor plan and the requests that were made today.
We have a motion to deny this application and have the applicant resubmit with the discussed corrections and additions and resubmit at the next board meeting. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second for Mr. Timmons. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries. Ms. Schultz, I'm afraid we're going to have you resubmit this. If you have any questions, you can contact the office, and Ms. Roxanne will help you walk through that. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Before we proceed, Roxana, we have gained a cadre of.
I was expecting them, but I thought something came up. Yes, sir.
We have obtained a cadre of, I believe, students or future practitioners here. If you don't mind, I'd like to recognize you. We do that at the first of the meeting every time. We're so glad to see all of you participating and taking an active part in our meetings and in your board, because this is your board. If I could have one person from each school just kind of stand and identify what school you're from. Instructor, student, somebody.
I will. This is Tony Miller. I'm calling from TCAT Memphis.
Miss Miller, I'm sorry. This is Roxana. We've got students here in person, and that's who Mr. Gillihan was taking a moment to introduce. So those that are on the call,
so much.
Yes, don't worry about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for bringing them. And ladies, thank you all for considering this as a career for your futures. I wish you all good luck. Do we have another school? Wow. Thank you so much. We appreciate Maplewood being here. Thank you, Colton. All right. Well, let's get back on track here, and we'll move forward with our next school.
Thank you, Chairman Gillihan. The next application starts on your iPads on page 116. This is Jackie's Global Cosmetology and Barber School. It's a change of location. This school is a specialty instructor school. Just in case the documents didn't seem the standard curriculum. Ms. Sanders, Jacqueline Sanders, is on the call to answer any questions you have. The school is located in Nashville. You have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. Ms. Sanders, I will let Chairman Gillihan go through his documents and ask any questions that he has. Thank you.
Welcome, and it's good to speak to you again. You're just doing a change of location. So,
yes, sir.
Typical question, how far are you moving, and is there going to be a hardship for your students?
No, it's not going to be a hardship for my students. I'm moving from Clarksville to Nashville. And it's a synchronous program, so it won't be a hardship.
Okay. This is a synchronous program, Roxana, and she's moving, excuse me, let me back up just a bit.
Sure.
On the new locations, would we need to send inspections for those?
With any of our change of locations for existing schools, we do not. On the new schools, what we discussed the last time is with the board, with the way things are, our board members are often busy. And so for the new schools, we would always like to send a member. As long as that member is able to go with the field inspector, we found it beneficial. I know that a couple of meetings ago we discussed that. So only for the new ones, I send the information to the board member in that area. If they're able to go, then that's great. If I don't hear a response or they can't, then we're counting on the inspector to do it all. But in this particular case, it would just be field inspectors. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Sanders, could you direct me in your information to your 45-day refund policy?
Yes, sir. It's on my page 18.
Your page 18, very well.
I'm sorry, 17.
133 for us.
I do see a refund section. I don't see the 45-day.
That should be an easy addition for you to make on this. It is one of the regulations that the 45-day statement of that refunds will be made within 45 days of the last day of the student's attendance. That really needs to be in there. You do have a cancellation refund policy. I actually did see that. You do not do an apprentice program, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the apprentice. Okay.
And this is an instructor-only school, so it's not really apprenticeship.
Exactly.
It's instructor, not apprenticeship. Thank you.
And I have the refund in my under student catalog, so I just need to add it to the enrollment. The 45 days, which is on page 20 in the student catalog.
How many hours are received online versus in person?
I'm not doing in person.
It's all virtual. Gotcha.
It's all synchronous. Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Andrews, you said that 45-day statement was on page 20?
Yes, sir. In the student catalog. I just need to transfer it to the enrollment agreement.
It is fine being in the catalog. That's okay.
Okay.
In your program, since this is an instructor's program, you know what, scratch that. I've just answered my own question in my own mind. I've resolved my way through it.
This may or may not be relevant for this application, but how does an instructor prove their competencies in strictly an online program?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, I have what I call mock training, and I got the idea from going to the board with PSI, and that's when after so many hours, I have on here like after 150 hours, I call it show me what you know, which is a mock teaching. The student will be the teacher, and I'll be the student.
Now, is the teaching for practical or for theory? Do you show them or force them to demonstrate the practicalities of one of the 7 or 11 services?
Yes, it's for practical.
I think one missing piece might be that her students are licensees, right? So, yeah.
for 3 years and never actually practice the craft and then go get your instructor's license and then be put out to potentially teach future people, but without the competency of actually doing the profession. That's my, I guess, curiosity on. So in a school-based setting, if I went for my instructor's license, I'd be forced to actually show and demonstrate my competencies of the 7 barber services, right? But online, how do you provide that when it's a classroom of potentially 5, 10, 20, 30 people on their computer? How do you show them how to properly do a straight razor shave, manicure? How do you do a facial? It's just, when you're going into a classroom or to get your instructor's license, and then you actually go on to a school to teach it, you have to be competent. I mean, that is your duties as a teacher, right? So whether you're teaching first grade or barbers, you have to have the competency and wherewithal. The instructor's program currently in the state doesn't require you to be employed for 3 years and prove so many services under contract as it does just to be a licensed barber for 3 years, and then you can go for instructor. So this has nothing to do with her specific school. My question concerns is, how do we do this online and provide an ample person to then go out and teach the future students of the craft?
I think maybe I can help you with that a little bit. And just for the members here, if you're not looking at it, on page 20 of her documents, which is 137 on our iPads, if you look at the bottom, she has her mock classrooms, and she's got them broken down into sections here. It's important to remember that all instructors, instructor trainees are licensed practitioners. They've already proven their competency and the skills of being a barber, a cosmetologist, so forth. Whenever they're doing these programs, the instructor program itself is all about teaching methodology. How do you communicate? How do you design a classroom? How do you write a test? How do you deliver that in an objective way? So those are things that can be measured very easily through the theory side, if you will. So when it comes to the practical demonstrations, what does an instructor actually do? You communicate, you teach, you demonstrate. So even in this synchronous type program in front of a camera, the instructor can demonstrate the proper application. These are the shave strokes, stroke number 1, stroke number 2, and so forth.
Right.
You can demonstrate that up close with the camera focused on you correctly, and the recipient can follow along. If I'm certain that's what she's doing in her program. So
yeah, and again, not specific to this school or her program, just in general, as far as truly breaking down, those things. I mean,
during the COVID crisis, most of our schools who were able to continue in operations that shifted to these type programs during the emergency, which is really the foundation of how this was able to come forward. That was how it was done in my own school.
Yeah.
We would have the instructors in front of the camera and they're demonstrating. We'd send all the gear home with the students to practice on, and the students would follow along and could be observed in that way. It is not an easy thing to do, absolutely, but it is doable. So I hope that helps you to understand how that process works.
It does. It helps me understand. I don't know if we're doing the best service for the student in these set applications. As a shop owner, and there's a few others on this board, the downfall of the preparation of the licensee has gone by the wayside drastically over the last probably 4 or 5 years. And unfortunately, due to COVID, I understand we had to make protocols and things. But now that we're out of those, I'm curious about getting more back into true technical, hands-on, person-to-person type education.
And the only thing I can add to that, to give you some history that the other members probably know, is it would be at the discretion of the school to choose. And I have had a couple of schools completely pull away from doing virtual. Many others haven't. They found a balance that they think works. So, we don't unless there's a complaint from the students, we really wouldn't know necessarily that they're not getting the best they could. But your point, yeah, makes sense. Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Sanders, there's one other thing that was pretty important to me, and I'm looking on page 21 of your documents. Let's see here, and you're calling this an apprentice program. The apprentice program really, that's how you have it titled here. The apprentice program really is predicated on 50% of the program being taught inside, and then 50% through a qualified training professional outside of the scope of the school. Your students would be, as an apprentice, would you be doing that practical training portion of an apprentice scenario inside your own school? Because that would indicate that one apprentice is assigned to one practitioner.
Yes, inside the school.
Out of school. So you would have, so you're only doing 50% of your program synchronous inside the school. And then the
no, no, sir. It's 100% inside. I mean, synchronous. I'm sorry, but you kind of faded away a little bit. Could you repeat your question, please?
Okay. Your program, you said, was a completely synchronous program, indicating you're doing the entire instructor program online. Okay?
Yes.
But in your documents, you identified as an apprentice program. They're slightly two different things.
Okay.
And a hybrid. A hybrid is a combination. Mm-hmm. So are we talking about hybrid or are we talking about apprentice?
It's a apprentice hybrid program. No, they won't. It's synchronous, and they will not be coming into school at all. And I think I probably did take it out because at one time I had them where they will be coming, but since I've changed the location, I've decided not to.
If I could add, hopefully I clarify and not confuse matters more. On your document, the whole section on apprentice program, to be able to offer apprentice, as Chairman Gillihan spells out, what that would mean is that 150 hours are done online synchronous with you as the instructor teaching them the methodology, going through the book. You finish the theory. They would have to take the theory exam for the instructor, and then the other 150, they would have to not be under your school supervision, but actually learning on a one-on-one scenario under a licensed supervising professional, meaning an instructor maybe at a school. So if your intent would be to go to a school and have one instructor just teach one of your student instructors, that could work. Generally speaking, apprenticeship for instructors really doesn't for that scenario because our instructors are out in the force teaching as opposed to teaching instructors how to teach, if that makes sense. So it could be that you mean to take out the apprenticeship section or rethink it and maybe represent it. But that was the concern of Chairman Gillihan is using that word for instructors doesn't really, and what we think you're planning to offer doesn't fit.
Okay.
You could offer the instructor apprentice program. You don't, but if you did, at least I don't think you do, they could do 150 hours online and then do 150 hours at your school.
Correct.
To do it that way.
Correct.
Okay.
So long, let's say, if I've got 3 or 4 licensed instructors,
Mm-hmm.
each one of those could take on one of those trainees, but I couldn't have 7 or 10 because they have an individual.
All of those options are currently
all those
allowed.
options, they are.
Okay.
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 I hope that we didn't confuse you too much. It's just the juxtaposition of your comments in your paperwork. It really does matter because students may enroll with one idea in mind and then come to find out at the end it's not quite what they thought. Okay, so we just want to make sure that's clear. You can adjust it or take it out, but if you're going to keep that type of program, then I think there's some more information. Specifically, there's some regulations on some language that has to be in there regarding 3 years of licensure and some other things that need to be for specifically to the apprentice program. So thank you for
Okay.
your
Well,
answers.
I do have that in it too. Okay.
Members, if that's clear as mud, do we have?
I have one addition to this. I would like for you to go back in your contract, and it's somewhere in that contract it states that your students must have the computer that's required for the program, and I would like for you to spell out what that requirement is, such as if it's Windows 10 and high-speed internet, whatever it is, so that they know exactly what they're getting themselves into.
Okay. Okay, I can put that in there.
We can't hear you. I'm sorry, Ryan.
There's no requirement then for the school itself because the students aren't showing up? Is it just required in office? As far as her floor plans go, there's no dimensions or anything, but I don't think there'd be any obstruction, right?
She would submit a floor plan for that, correct, Roxana?
And it's on page 117 of your application. The school has its own office and classroom should she need to bring students in, go over anything, prepare for the exams. That's
no restrictions, though, as far as size goes.
Not at all. So
okay,
this would be
considered
a specialty school, which the Barber side doesn't have.
Okay.
The specialty schools don't have dimensions. You're absolutely right.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve. Did I say it right?
With the corrections?
Corrections.
We have a motion to approve with the corrections. We have a second by Ms. Tanksley. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Congratulations, and if you'll get with Ms. Roxana on those changes and updates, good luck on your new location and all the success in the world to you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, members. The next school starts on page 173. This is Elite Self-Image Barber College. It is a new barber school. Mr. Jeremy Burt is participating remotely through Teams to answer your questions. This school is located in Clarksville. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan were provided. I will turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
I'm sorry, I did not catch the name again.
The school is Elite Self-Image Barber College, and it's Mr. Jeremy Burt.
Burt, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a bit about your school?
Yes. It's a barber school that I wanted to bring to Clarksville based on I felt like Clarksville needed a change, something new, something fresh. We provide multiple programs, Master Barber, COS crossover program, Barber Technician. And so I just thought Clarksville, like I said, needed a fresh start with a new look, a new opportunity for the city to experience elite barbers. So.
Thank you very much for that. Is your program going to be full service in-house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you planning on doing any online distance education?
When the need comes, but everything will be in-house.
So you're not going to do the apprentice program?
No, sir.
Okay. In the review of your documents, I only had a couple of notes here. The barber requirements are somewhat different in some minor ways in the regulations. Your information should contain a statement that indicates that you're going to give a receipt to any student from whom money is collected they're going to have to get a receipt from authorized school personnel. It has to be a policy, and I did not see that. If you have that, if you just let me know where it is, we'll take that one off. I did not see that you have a backup method for logging your students' hours. In many cases, school will utilize electronic timekeeping, and then they will also have paper backup or a thumb drive backup. They've got something to back that up, and that needs to be stated in your policies, as well as the requirement to keep all the student files separate for part-time and full-time students.
I don't offer part-time, and also on the enrollment, the catalog on page 5, students are expected to attend class a minimum of 5 or a maximum of 8 consecutive hours a day, starting as early as 8:30 a.m. and ending no later than 10 p.m. Students' hours will be monitored and tracked by both biometric time clock as well as written sign-in sheet each day.
Okay. What page is it on again? I'm sorry.
193.
193.
And Ron, on our page 180, that acknowledgement statement, see if that meets what you're wanting to look at.
193 is good, and you said 180, Ms. Roxana?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, on 179, actually, in the center of the page, it says receipt for all monies paid, right above breakdown.
That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Can you tell me where your policy on transfers is, whether you directly accept transfers or not?
Okay.
78. That would cover it. Thank you very much. That appears to be the only comments I have on this file.
Mr. Burt, you did a great job with your documentation.
Congratulations on that. I'm not quite sure how to take that, Amy, but good.
It's a compliment for him.
It's very much, very much.
And for you and all the work you put in. So both.
Thank you. I've had an amazing support team, so it wasn't all just me. So I got to give thanks where thanks is due. I appreciate you guys.
Members, do we have any other questions for this applicant? If not, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that this application be approved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve, all with an inspection. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Congratulations, and now I will say very, very sincerely, it was a great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck.
Members, our last school before you starts on page 212. This is Crown Cuts Academy. It's a new specialty aesthetics school. Mr. Craig Charles and Ms. Robin Scott will be participating. I'm not sure if they're both on the call, but they'll be able to answer your questions. This school is located in Johnson City. It has been a licensed barber school since 2017. So separate from the barber program, they wish to add just the aesthetics on the cosmetology side. You have the application enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan to review. And so I'll turn it over to you, Chairman Gillihan.
Thank you very much. Who am I speaking with on the phone?
Robin and Craig.
They are both there. So it's Mr. Craig Charles and Robin Scott. Thank you, Robin.
Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Ms. Roxanne actually cleared up a couple of questions right there that I had because I was seeing quite a bit of information in your application regarding the Barber program that's already existent. I am familiar with your school. This is no change in the Barber program whatsoever. This is just the aesthetics. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ms. Rebecca, do you have anything to get started with while I look at my notes?
Can you point out where your contingency plan is?
Yes, ma'am. It is
Page 219 on her bullet points has the program canceled, or if they permanently closed, those would be her plan options.
It is in the event that we were to be under any threat, such as a natural disaster, explosive device, including chemical, biological. The students will continue their studies at our 805 Commonwealth Avenue location in Bristol.
Ms. Scott, we're having a hard time hearing you for some reason.
Okay, is that better?
A little bit better. A little bit better. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And the contingency plan is on page 31 in the handbook catalog.
Can you tell me, you said that they would attend your other school. Can you tell me how far it is between those two?
About 28 minutes or about 30 miles.
Am I understanding that you're going to have these students splitting attendance between two schools, between two locations?
No, sir, that's just our contingency plan.
Oh, your contingency. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ms. Scott, what other school are you referring to? Your school 30 miles away?
We have another school in Bristol, Virginia.
But it's in Virginia.
It's an accredited.
Okay. Okay. That's all. I just wanted to make sure that the board members understood. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
And the contingency is on our page 253, separate from those bullet points I pointed to.
So with that being said, your contingency, if it is to attend a different school and it's not in the state of Tennessee, then that is not a correct contingency plan.
Okay, I can change that. I'll make a note and I'll change that.
I see that the aesthetics program will be on the second floor. Do we still make concessions for those that are wheelchair bound or would need access to that area, or would they have space available for that area?
We have a place on the first floor if we have somebody that needs special accommodations.
The probably one of the biggest concerns I have here really are in the enrollment agreement, and pretty well on around the first or second pages here on page 217 for our members. I'm not seeing one of the requirements here. You have the name, birthday, and so forth for your enrollees, but while the state does not require anybody to have a high school diploma to enroll in this program, we do still require that you have an indicator of their level of education. So were they high school graduates? That statement needs to be in your enrollment agreement. And also, as I went through the entire package, on your listing of your fees at the bottom of page 1, I understand that you're leaving those blanks so that you can fill in the appropriate amounts for the various programs you're using. However, I believe that there should be in this enrollment agreement, not just buried in the catalog, a concise statement of what all of your fees and costs and charges are. As I went through this, I located lots of different charges and costs for lots of different things throughout the catalog, ranging from late fees and extra attendance charges, I guess, for overtime. So I think I'd like to see a very clear, concise listing or table of what the fees for this particular program is going to be, and a designation on this form of, are they signing up for the Master Barber program or the aesthetics program? I realize that you're simply utilizing the same forms for the different programs. I understand that, but we need to make sure that it's very clear which one this is representing. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I can add that. Yeah, I can add that to the enrollment agreement, a more concise, clear list of the costs for each program.
That needs to be in the enrollment agreement. Okay, so.
Okay, I made a note of that.
A quick question in case I overlooked it. Is any part of these programs accredited? Is your Master Barber program accredited already?
At our other school, our school in Bristol, Virginia, it's
Yes,
accredited.
it is, okay.
All our programs, our cosmetology, aesthetics, manicuring, and aesthetics program are accredited.
They are, okay.
And the Tennessee side, Barber program is not accredited.
I believe I was seeing some information regarding accreditors in there in Title IV. I just want to make sure that I was clear on that. So and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you do have a statement indicating that this particular program is not accredited at this time, correct?
Right, yeah.
I thought I saw that. Okay. Those were the main concerns that I have. Members, Ryan, Tamika, Perry, everybody? Thank you. If there are no other questions or discussion, do we have a motion?
To accept?
Changes?
Yes, with the changes. To Roxanne.
Ms. Roxana, new program, new location, would this need a new inspection?
I don't believe so unless the board members want to do that. We would need an inspection for sure, so we can't do one without the field inspector, but not a board member, correct.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So do we have a motion? We have a motion to approve the changes in the inspection. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck. Hope everything goes well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Board members, the next item starts on your iPads on page 268. I want to just double check. Ms. Katie or Joseph Yoakum, are you on the call with us? Okay. Members, they were? Okay. So you're welcome. Absolutely, you've got here a new continuing education request for a course to be offered this year for our instructors. I had left a message with Ms. Yoakum, actually several, an email just asking for her to reach me. The main reason is she's selecting 2 dates, and the board members with all of our previous first-time providers have only approved 1 date, and make sure that a board member goes so you can evaluate the course. So I wanted her to pick the date, but I never heard back via email or phone call. So if the members want to approve this as is, obviously I can't post it on the website until she's selected one of the 2 dates. But I'll turn it over to you if she was on the call, and if you wanted to be represented, that's up to you as well. But
are both of those dates available?
I don't know that December 30th and 31st are great dates, but that wouldn't be up to me to pick. It would be our instructors that may not choose to go on the 31st. So No one has these exact dates, but we do have several in July. So again, we don't dictate the dates. I always ask them to look at our board meetings. That way, if I can attend or a board member, that's an option, but it would be at their discretion.
We would make a motion to approve this continuing education offering for one of these sessions.
Correct.
It'll allow her to select the date that she prefers.
New Year's Eve, let's go.
I apologize. I didn't hear. Who motioned that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve one of these dates.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Members, we have a motion and a second to approve this program at the selection of the date. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you, members. We will go ahead and switch over to the legal report with Mike Underhill that's here. I wasn't seeing him at first, and then continue with our felony and miscellaneous applicants right after that. Mike, thank you. And if I could, for the new members with the iPads, you just have to switch from the presentation to legal. Let me know if you need help. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Which is breaking down to 4 represents, 10 Barber cases, and 61 cosmetology cases. I will point out for the board that item number 9, that matter has been resolved by agreed citation. So that one is not up for consideration.
I'd like to take a look at item number 8, since it was recommended to us from a different commission. I don't know that we don't have enough information to say if this is right or wrong, but I would like to, instead of just closure, could we send out a letter of instruction?
Sure.
Just had a general question. There were several complaints in this report where it looked like there was at-home services being provided. The answers seem to all be the same, that they weren't charging for those services. And then, of course, the complaint is closed, but clearly we have no proof of what is being charged or not being charged. Is this a trend we're keeping tabs on, or...
Sorry, I'm keeping my finger on speak. The way I look at it, it's evidence-based. If they're saying that that is an exception to the rule or an exemption to having a license, if I had more evidence, maybe pointing to that not being the case, I would recommend something different, but I have to presume if there's no evidence, there's no evidence. I mean, if the board feels strongly about it, I could send all of those, whether it's right or wrong, a letter of instruction. But the problem with that would be that it's a statutory exemption to the rule of licensure. So I mean, I could see some confusion and maybe some calls stating, why am I getting this letter? Especially if they know that that's a statutory exemption. Working on family and friends for free.
Amy, if I'm sorry to interrupt, but since we're on this subject, you pose a good question regarding, is this an increase that we've seen? So we have seen an increase in what's reported activity in people's homes. And I'm going to be addressing that this week with our complaints division and field enforcement, because they will oftentimes be asked to go to the homes, and that's a little bit tricky because they're not welcome in or don't find anyone or don't see the activity. So the letter of instruction that Mike brings up was going to be one of my thoughts. There's no harm if we're just educating on the statute, and Mike and I would work on a letter that just simply does that, maybe educates, because the complaints are coming just from people saying, so neighbor, somebody is working out of their home. This is what they're doing. So it's been an increase because what we've done often is send the field inspectors, and that's a cost to the board, and we don't get very far. So I'm trying to find a better solution.
Roxanna, may I piggyback
Yes.
on that? If the board is of the consensus opinion that in all of those circumstances that a letter of instruction should go out, then I don't have the numbers memorized, but I mean, I can go back through the legal report, and where we have that situation or variations of that situation, then we can send out a letter of instruction regarding licensure.
Mike, of course, I have to muddy the waters a little more and say that how would this coincide with folks who might actually have a residential practitioner license?
The only time that I am saying this is when an inspector has gone out, and that is an answer that they receive. It may not be the reason why they're going out, but that may be the explanation that they're getting, if that makes any sense.
It very much does.
So if we change the process a little bit, if when they're not welcome or they have to leave their card and have to keep going back, any of those things, if we draft a letter of instruction on what the statute is, because we know they're not licensed by that point, instead of the inspector needing to go out, that letter could go out as education, and then
yes.
treat it as we do our agreed citation, where the board has worked so hard to set the parameters for the first offense, the second offense, and so forth, because that has been an increase, and you're seeing it in the legal report as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yes, I would be a fan of that. I would also have a question to the folks who are calling to make those complaints, right, who are alerting the office
in writing.
This, yeah, in writing, yes. Are we encouraging them to provide more evidence, to provide receipts, or provide something of that nature?
Roxanna, now granted, there's a lot of different circumstances where that comes into play. If I see evidence of pricing or social media, then I look past the fact that that's what they're saying because we have evidence of pricing or social media. At that point, that would be a letter of warning. I would go past the letter of instruction. But absent that, where we pull back a little bit on what we have, it's a judgment call whether that's a letter of instruction or not based on the evidence. But again, if the board is of the opinion, and I don't know if this is something that needs to be voted on every circumstance where we get that answer from someone, we can make that an automatic letter of instruction, or that you can give me guidance that y'all would like to have that as a letter of instruction. And then obviously I'll go back through this legal report, and then going forward to other legal reports, that will be the recommendation wherever we get that response without further evidence. I mean, if there's other further evidence, then that's going to change my recommendation.
Yeah, it just seems to be a new trend that we've picked up.
Maybe it's trending on social media right now too, that if you get caught doing hair, or if somebody files a complaint on you, to just say that you're not charging family and friends. So it's most definitely a trend on social media right now.
The statute actually says, not verbatim, but the statute actually says, paraphrasing, that the payment of money is irrelevant. So it doesn't matter if they're charging, if they're not. Practicing a barber and practicing cosmetology is doing any of those skill sets, whether money's involved or not. So
now, do all these complaints come in through like that core app or website? Yes. Is there an easier way? Because I tried to even put something through the other night, because there's a new barber shop that's opened out of somebody's living room with an unlicensed barber and uninspected shop, and that's advertising on social media heavily. It's really not easy.
The complaint process is not easy? Okay.
Yeah, because there was like dates and names and things that required to be put in there.
Well, yes, because you're filing on someone's, license or lack of. So we do need all that information.
But what about like a layman where they wouldn't even know where to look or how to go about it, like a neighbor or something, a new person moved in? And I think a lot of it has to do with them just not going through reciprocity. Maybe they're licensed in a previous state, have moved here, and said it's just easier to open in the living room and advertise on social media because everything's free, right?
Right. So we get calls and emails all day about that. And of course, we can't take a complaint over the phone. If they don't have a computer, can't use it, we will file it on their behalf. It's not what we want to do, because then when it comes to Mike and we go to a formal hearing, we're the ones filing it. But it can be done. But
yeah, I tried to do it on my phone. It wasn't easy. So do you have to, like, is a computer just an easier process?
Much easier. The phone should be, but for the complaint, because on the complaint process, you're pulling the respondent, right?
Yeah.
You're pulling a lot of information, the address, adding pictures. The phone wouldn't be the best for the complaint.
Okay. I'm curious if we can make that easier in the future.
Do we need to make a motion for this new process? How would we go about doing that?
Santa, I'm going to lean on you for that, or is that just something that can be suggested to me, or does that have to be the official position of the board?
So what I would suggest we do, because I've noticed the trends, exactly what Ms. Turner's saying. I think we're recommending consistently as far as on this report. But what I want to do is meet with the complaints division, with field enforcement as well, because for the ones where they're not successful, it's a cost to the program, and our fees have gone up drastically for inspections. So I'd really like to develop a process, maybe let this one go as we've got it, and then propose to the board at the next meeting and treat it as the agreed citation piece. When they come in, this is what we do. And if we go and find things, we treat it as a normal complaint, but just have a pocket of step 1, 2, and 3. So when there's a follow-up on the house through social media with more pictures, we know that that something's going on, that they need a license, we need to inspect it, and all of that. So if the board's okay with that, I'm leaning toward the letter of instruction when we're not successful, but I want to look at the whole picture first.
Yeah, no, and I was not aware. I'm appreciative of the social media. I had not seen that personally. It just felt like maybe there was some coaching going on here. So, yeah, I think
May
that's
I
a great
again
plan.
piggyback on that again? Now, granted, we have situations where we have more evidence, and it's not going to be a letter of instruction based on the evidence that we have. But I'm thinking at the very least, and I'm like Roxana, if this is something we want to table to the next meeting, but on the next legal report that I'm developing, I can go ahead and maybe adjust my thinking. And if that's not the case, we can go through those. And I'll make a note of all cases where we have that, and we can maybe talk through those specific items in more detail as to what the board may want to do if they don't want to do a blanket letter of instruction at the very least on those types of scenarios. Because again, that couldn't, I mean, we're getting that as an answer, and that may not be the reason why we're going out there, but that's the answer that we're getting to some of those inspections.
I think we're on a good path with that. So,
thank you.
So, Mike, there's one notation that I'm just going to mention, because in all my career, I've never seen this one pop up on a legal everywhere. Item 37.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
A wig bailment.
Yeah.
That's just so unique. It just caught my eye. So no recommendations.
Well, based on what I read, and granted, as the board knows, I'm summarizing some of these complaints. That's essentially a bailment. It's basically lending out a wig, I guess, for the wig to be worked on. So
first time for everything. Sorry. I'll remember that one. Okay. All right.
I'll dumb down. I'll change the language a little bit. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. It did stand out though for me. I thought, wow, that's a good one. So
I apologize,
folks. We're going to need a motion to accept the legal report.
One more question, Ron. I'm sorry.
Please.
There were a couple of Barber cases towards the end. What are the numbers? We've got multiple, second violation of unlicensed activity. I'm just verifying on the record that we are still pursuing with the third violation. We are pursuing the shop closure. Is that still the process?
That is, yes. And I was a little shocked at obviously I can't state the name of it, but it's one that we had not too long ago. So I was a little shocked that we're coming around the second time.
Oh, I mean, I guess personally, right, I can't speak to shops, but there's sort of word on the street that there are lots of shops that they're offering one commission rate to licensed folks and a different commission rate to unlicensed folks, and it's just a cost of doing business. So
that is correct. On the third violation, yes, we will be seeking revocation, not only of the shop license, Roxana, correct me if I'm wrong, but, well, any individual licenses that may be associated with that shop, or that may be incorrect on
Right.
my part.
We've always done the shop. The individuals would be on a case by case. We rarely go for revocation of the individuals unless they're egregious cases, but the shop always.
Same manager.
Right.
All several times.
That would be different. Yeah.
Questions?
Let's just going to make the motion. Accept the legal report.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to accept the legal report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
As amended, because
As amended.
we do have
As amended.
number 8. Okay.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you,
Mike. I appreciate the
Thank
hard
you,
work
Mike.
you put in.
Thank you, members. I'll let you switch back to your presentation. And if it's okay, Chairman Gillihan, with you and the board, I would like to skip to our miscellaneous section. We've got at least one person in person here before us, so that we can free them up, and then we'll come back to the applications to test. That means on your presentation, you're going to want to skip to page 286. I will start with our first miscellaneous presentation. This is a request to waive the need to retest. It's pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 62-4-114A, which states that a cosmetology instructor may, for good cause, be granted up to 1 additional year to complete their 16 hours of education. The board may approve these good causes, such as medical hardship or death in the immediate family. In order to grant that extension, the board has given me the permission as well to review those. Before you is Ms. Trow Jackson. She's emailed explaining that she was the primary caretaker for her father for an entire year and a half. She also explained that he passed away, unfortunately, in December of 2023, and she put her entire career on hold while doing this because of the length of time. The board has, on those unique situations, granted this extension so that the instructor would not have to test. Any others that don't meet these requirements, as you can imagine, are asked to, based on the statute, have to retest.
I make a motion to grant the extension.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to grant the extension. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. And next we have a request made, if you give me a minute, Ms. Fatmeh Sidnu.
Sure.
Thank you, members. And this is on page 292. Ms. Sidnu has presented a document with all her information. She's appearing before you to allow or ask permission to test as an esthetician. You have before you her education, which is international education, and it is translated. It shows hours in skincare, massage, hygiene, and dermatology. She has years and years of experience. I don't have all of her paperwork as far as certificates and experience before you, but you do see the number of hours that equate to, over the 650 that would be required for aesthetics. But it's obviously a little bit different than what we would consider here. So I'll let her answer any questions you have. She is requesting to test as an esthetician and has a new type of business model to bring to Tennessee. Thank you for being patient.
Request is to approve her to test for the aesthetics licensing.
Correct. It would be anytime the documents are translated, the transcript shows what we need to see. We approve them. The board has given me permission to do that. Here, unfortunately, the classes don't line up the same. We've got some hours, but again, once you leave home, your documents look the way they do. You can't get the schools to revise them. So I wanted to make sure, and fortunately she's here local to answer any questions you have. I believe based on it that the hours are there. The exam is how we would protect the public, obviously.
I would make a motion to approve her to test for her aesthetics license.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve for the aesthetics license. Is there any discussions, any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
Mm.
Motion carries. Congratulations. That was hard, wasn't it?
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Absolutely. Good luck. Thank you. Take care. Thank you, members. The next miscellaneous item starts on page 296. This is a request to pursuant to Rule 0440-01-.10. This is for the individuals that seek their initial license, and it's good that we have so many students, so I'll dwell on this statute. This rule requires both under the cosmetology and barber side to have someone apply for their original license 6 months after passing that exam. The board does have, for good cause, the permission to extend it, and you've given me an additional 6 months that I can grant. So very often we ask for something in writing, and we're extending that to up to a year. In this particular case, you have Ms. Brianna Strader, who has provided an explanation that she was holding down 2 jobs while completing school, and she just did not realize that a letter had been sent to her asking for the reason for the explanation. She passed her practical exam on June 16th of 2022, so she's asking for her license to be approved.
I make a motion to approve her license.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this license request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Our next miscellaneous item starts on page 299. This is a request to waive the reinstatement exams. This is pursuant to Tennessee Code 62-4-117D, which states that an applicant whose license has lapsed for 3 years or longer shall not be reinstated unless they pass the law and then the practical exam. Ms. Tabitha White has provided an explanation about being incarcerated in 2018. While also incarcerated, she dealt with a serious illness, and these things kept her from being able to focus and continue renewing her license. A former instructor that had worked with her is the one that actually reached the board explaining that this individual would like a second chance to join the industry again. She is asking the board to waive the requirement to retest, and that she, again, almost meets the new statute. If the board remembers last year, Section H of that statute also added that if you've been lapsed for 3 years but less than 8, and she falls in there, and licensed for 20 years, she's a couple of years short of that 20, then you wouldn't have to retest. So she's almost at that exemption. But given the situation with being incarcerated, I believe at least one other time, it was for a barber, we were able to grant that without them having to retest.
She's no longer incarcerated, correct?
No, she is not. She's looking forward to getting back in the industry.
You are correct. We did approve that for a barber several years ago.
Then I'd like to make the motion that we reinstate her license.
I'll second that motion.
You have a motion and a second to reinstate. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. She will be very excited. We're going to head back then and do our applications to test. These are our felony applicants, and that's on page 272 of your iPads. And I apologize that we're going back and forth, but I appreciate knowing we had someone here waiting to get back to work. The applications for the felony applicants are for Mr. Stephen Malone, Arthur Sanders, and DeJavon Woods. These applicants have had felonies in the last 3 years or are currently incarcerated. The request is to take the examination. They've submitted their documents to the board for review. The board always does an agreed order for each individual with a 2-year probationary period, and these licenses are approved. And so I would turn it over if you have any questions. Otherwise, we just need the motion.
I'll make a motion that be approved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve these requests. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you. We are moving on to the director's report, and that item is on page 306 of your iPads. Give me a minute, I will get to it. You have before you our financials through November of 2023. We are showing a deficit through November of $44,594. It still leaves us a decent surplus of $1,222,473. The deficit, of course, is now the year-to-date final balance is $1,177,872 after this year-to-date deficit. We are keeping a close eye on everything, and very likely when we end June, we may be at a deficit this year, which would mean that the board in that case has 2 consecutive years, and we would go up for self-sufficiency. Ron, you'd probably be coming with me. We'll answer and look at all the options. Just a lot of increases as we've addressed repeatedly. So we're going to try to juggle those things before we would consider fee increases, of course. But I'll keep everyone posted on our numbers each month as we do. I've got one more item of new order of business before we start the rulemaking hearing, and that can start right at 11. So if the members want to take a break, I think we'll have time. This particular item is regarding the retention record for our documents, and for our newer members, this information will be, I think, good to go through, but our members that have been here a while will remember. We reviewed many times students that want their hours from schools that are closed. These are students that haven't tested and done a whole lot, and so after the fact, years and years later, they were coming to the board. We haven't had those in a while, but for several years, we would have every other month or so students who had gone a decade or so, and we would have to pull paper boxes and so forth. And so at that point, it was also difficult in some of the cases to find those hours. As you can imagine, back in the 90s, we didn't have the scanning mechanism. Some of our boxes were damaged in the flood. And so with all that, the board had decided that the school reports, those older boxes of school reports, we would retain for 10 years. And so now we have gotten a request to, if the board is still so inclined to maintain those records for 10 years, that I would need a motion to do so, because our standard record retention document, I think it's number 1022, if I'm not mistaken, it is only for 7 years. And so we're actually asking for the extension to be a little bit longer. We can go with the 7 years and make that decision. And we don't have a lot more that are impacted at this point, because since 2015, everything is in our core system. And between 2012 and 13, we scanned anything that we had on hand. So there's really not that much more, but it would be at your discretion. You can go ahead and approve that we go with the 7 years, or we need a new RDA created. Either way, it's not.
Would there be a significant cost?
There shouldn't be. We're already paying for those items that are stored somewhere and in paper. But again, we have fewer and fewer, fortunately.
Just through normal attrition, that number would have gone down quite a bit.
Correct.
Anyway, so.
Correct. Okay. So we can change. I didn't want to, because the board trusted us with holding on to 10 years worth of records. But if you're okay, we reduce it to 7 and we don't need anything. If we want to go with 10, I need a motion to create a new number for those items.
What's your recommendation?
I think because we have fewer and fewer, and we've actually reduced seeing the number of students that fall in that, my hope would be that we've already seen those students. Right. So I would be fine if we just retained them for 7 years. I don't see the big difference in those 3 years, but for a while, David, we were seeing a lot of students that needed hours, and then we oftentimes didn't find them on that report. So that was difficult as well. We would pull the boxes, go through them all. John can attest, because he often did a lot of the research as well. And the students weren't on there, or the number of hours weren't the same. So it's difficult when students put that off so much, and we want to help them.
On the cosmetology side, there's a limit on how long they can look back on that.
Both, actually, 7 years.
7 years on Barber Street.
Right.
So there's kind of our cutoff anyway. So.
And remember that we have, since 2015, every single monthly hour report that several of you are in schools, they're in our system. Prior to that, in 2012, we had FileNet was the scanning system, and it tracked almost everything. The issue with the high school and the Tennessee College of Applied Technology schools, which isn't an issue, but it was the problem, is we don't license them, so they weren't in our system. As of 2017, we've given them numbers, so that'll help, and we have them scanned since then. So and I don't have concerns with high schools or the TCAT school, but in reality, if we drop to 7, those would be the schools theoretically impacted.
I would like to say that I know for the TCATs, those records would still exist with the TCATs, so I can't imagine that TCATs would not exist and be able to pull those records. So I don't think it's going to affect ours. High schools, I would hope that they've got those records. I couldn't tell you if they do or not.
Private schools maintain 6 years.
7 in the statute, but
7.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. So I think we would be conservative and okay, given that everything is 7 years, but completely at your discretion.
I'll make the 7-year motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to maintain the records for 7 years. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That is everything that I have. It doesn't end our meeting. If the members would like to take a break, and you can fill us in maybe before we get started on the rulemaking hearing, but we're starting at 11, right? Okay.
So not that I don't want to speak with you, but just due to the laws, the rulemaking hearing, there are public notices that are required. So we'll go through all the rules that are changing as part of the rulemaking hearing on the record, starting at 11. That way, if anyone wants to make public comment, participate, as statutorily allowed, they can do so. So, I would prefer that we wait until 11 to start the conversation. That way I don't have any issues moving forward, but I guess theoretically I could answer general questions, but I promise we'll cover everything in detail as part of the presentation.
We'll just wait. At this time, we're going to take about a 10-minute recess. We will start at 11 o'clock. That's something we have to do. For our schools that are here, if any of you guys have a question, I hope you could stay for this. But if you have any questions about anything you've seen today, I'm going to come back to where you are in just a minute, and I'll be happy to answer a few questions for you while we're getting ready, okay? We're in recess till 11.
Thank you.
Your schools notify.
There. 3 months of notification ahead of time. Accredited school. I'm not accredited. I can send Roxana an email today and post a close tomorrow morning.
Break, boss. Get your wrist.
Giving out some. Uh-huh.
That was absolutely hilarious.
So my neighbors were
I love that home, but
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
Go far.
The very last one, you know. Watching those.
Thank you. You look so cute in your hat today.
You do. I should put it in there. I got these cute hats. I just.
How long?
Or over here.
Just 3 because she's the court reporter and John.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll be happy. She'll be happy.
Okay, so
That will be there. You go.
okay. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
John,
You are welcome.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Did one. I think we did one last. Mm-hmm. Did ice. Remember, I done ice there at the Gaylord. Have you ever done that sculpture? Oh my gosh, we love that. Okay. You know, that was for our last meeting.
Good morning. Is it still morning?
It's the week after. You know what? I had to leave the meeting early the last time. I've been having to help with the kids. That's been a hard Christmas. You know, I lost my dad last year. My dad. Wow. I don't understand it. Yeah, and we were all, I mean, she just had our little birthday party.
I hope there's some limitation to it.
And had a brain bleed, and it was so bad that they said nothing. But anyway, so I got to that at Christmas. I didn't even do no shopping until Christmas Eve. She died unfortunately. Yeah, I'm about to get back to me now. Oh, sorry.
You have a little girl. I have 2 boys.
They was with her one time.
8-year-old and a 10-year-old boy.
Oh, sorry.
Trouble and more trouble. Yeah, they came to one meeting. I don't know, a while back.
Yeah.
At school, they set them in the back. But this is government day. They're going. Welcome to adulthood. Yes.
Here's your cute little bag.
Girl, we have my little niece is 4, and I
Get everybody's attention.
do it. I have 0. I have a dog. He's 17 years old. He sleeps 24 hours a day. So
I have 9 grandbabies, and the oldest one is 10, and the littlest one is 1. Yeah.
grandbabies are
And they're all
fun.
little girls.
My niece thinks I am to play with them. Yes, of course. Well, she wants me to fix her hair and do her makeup, and she's 4.
Yeah, that's what we do with my little 4-year-old.
She asked for the trunk out. No, she's 4. We're not going.
that one does. I asked. I don't know if, but would they make a team? Are they great? Are they a master patch or a mighty patch? Something like that. Yes. Okay. They're okay? Yes. You're using good products. Oh. Going through that stage? Yeah. And then everybody. I'm so glad we didn't have.
Oh, I know, right?
Like, that came to it after I was 16, 17, 18, 21, 24. Yes. Yes, it does.
Oh, he's doing well. He's just doing his thing. I've had
The time.
And that's your sisters or your brothers?
I only have a sister.
Only have a sister. Okay.
But she is me. Look at this.
That's so sweet.
She's got blue eyes,
She does
blonde
look a lot
hair,
like you.
and she is me.
She's got your nose too, doesn't she?
Yes. She's got my attitude too.
Does she?
Like,
Oh my gosh.
do you know how they say you raise your sibling? She's totally raising me.
How come you don't have? You're not married right now, or you are married, or you do have kids? You never get married. Don't want to get married. Nope. Never get married. But you wouldn't want to start having them.
I already
You just
own
have to
everything
adopt
out.
them. Yeah.
But she's a little.
And then you have her.
Now she's my heart and soul. She's beautiful and brave and happy. And yeah, Kayla had her. I just get to play with her. Here's my other one, which he's horrible. But, well,
White hair, don't they?
oh yeah, I had white hair. Oh. I can show you a funny picture of me when I was young.
Got your same little cheeks, don't you?
Girl, I never grew out of them.
You never grew out of them cheeks. You got your cheeks forever. That's a good thing. There's all three of mine in the bathroom this past weekend.
Oh my goodness.
The three little girls.
They're so
They
big.
look so much alike, don't they? She's 9, 7, and 4.
And they're all about the same mom and dad?
No, this is the mom, and that's my son. These are my daughters,
yeah,
that's my son.
your genetics run deep.
That's all that, yeah. See, we had our little matching shirts on.
Oh, that's a good
This
picture.
is, what's that? Oh, yeah. They play hairdress up. I have to sit in the floor and let them do my hair all the time. Sorry, I didn't have that ready.
Who gave us these sweet little bags working for?
That's from Anita.
Thank you. Over here. Thank you.
That's so nice.
It's so sweet. I'm so excited. I forgot it was Valentine's Day.
I will under here. Rulemaking, my nice kids.
Her brother.
Yeah, every day.
Maybe not this
That's
guy.
why I said by losing dad last year and losing mom this year. Now I'm the oldest now, and I don't have nobody like my dad every day checks on me. I don't know how.
Oh, they do.
This is the. Both got to be. That's true.
David.
Happy birthday is not easy to sing.
The time now, by the did that gymnastics right on the hill past you on the left, the next right there on the I can't remember what it's called. That turn right there where that big flag is. I'm in like Danvers. Like like if you'll go from Knoxville east would be then you go through Jefferson City and Danvers is right there by Dolly. I'm 15 minutes from the oldest town in I went to it. 30 minutes.
Just a quick update. We're going to start as soon as we can confirm that the Teams folks can speak to us.
Okay.
They muted us, and it looks like they can't then unmute themselves.
We're going to have a momentary technical delay.
Yes. As great as technology is.
Thank you for this treat.
Thank you. Look how precious. I love the bag. Love the bag.
You are no longer muted.
Here we go. We're offering now goodies on our side. Okay. Thank you, Chairman Gillihan. I'll let you get us back on the record as well. I think we're ready to proceed.
This meeting is called back to order, and we're going to proceed with the rulemaking hearing at this time.
Thank you. Go.
This rulemaking hearing is called to order. My name is Joseph Wharton. I serve as Associate General Counsel in the Department of Commerce and Insurance, Division of Regulatory Boards, and I represent the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. Would the board members and executive director who are present introduce themselves for the record this morning?
Ronald Roger Gillihan II, Chairman.
I'm Rebecca Russell, Vice Chairman.
Actually, we'll go that way.
I'm Amy Tanksley.
I'm Monica Lemons.
Lane Petty.
Nita Charlton. Tamika Turner.
Harry Baldwin.
Brian Timmons.
Thank you. I'm Roxana Gamusia, the Executive Director with the Cosmetology and Barber Board. Just
My name's John Lillard. I'm the Administrative Director with the board.
Thank you for introducing yourselves. I would ask this morning if you do make any comment, because we are utilizing a court reporter, that you would state your name so that your name could be accurately recorded for the record. Today is Monday, February 5th, 2024. This rulemaking hearing is taking place pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 45204 in Conference Room 1A of Davy Crockett Tower, 500 James Robinson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee. The purpose of this rulemaking hearing is to solicit comments on rule amendments to the rules and regulations of the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. The proposed rule amendments include regulations for the newly created eyelash specialist license, as well as update the language regarding qualifying education to comply with statutory changes. Specifically, new definitions, application, and education requirements, as well as apprenticeship hours for the eyelash specialist license, are proposed. Additionally, the language in the cosmetology and barber sections of the rules removes specific types of high school education and is amended to generally state licensees are required to have high school equivalency credential approved by the State Board of Education. A rule is defined as an agency statement of general applicability that implements or prescribes law or policy, or describes the procedures or practice requirements of the agency. Proposed rules are filed with the Office of the Secretary of State, notice is given to the public for comment, and a rulemaking hearing is held. Upon conclusion of the hearing and adoption of the proposed rules, the rules are forwarded to the Attorney General's office for review of legality. If approved, they are filed with the Secretary of State, which is responsible for publication, and the Government Operations Committee of the General Assembly. The rules must stay in the Secretary of State's office for 90 days, then end of which time will be the effective date. Those members of the public wishing to speak should place their name on the sign-in sheet to my right, located on the podium. Oral comments will only be accepted by those who have written their name on the sign-in sheet. Is there anyone else that desires to offer oral comments but who have not written their name on the sign-in sheet? Seeing that there are none, for those attending this hearing, I would call your attention to the table located directly to my right. On this table, you will find red-line copies of the rule amendments addressed in today's rulemaking hearing. The notice of rulemaking hearings included summaries of the proposed rules that were published on the Tennessee Administrative Register website on December 11th, 2023. The e-notification of the rulemaking hearing was sent out on December 13th, 2023. Ms. Gamusio, what additional notice was given to the affected individuals or groups?
We sent out emails through the e-notify system, and that covered everyone that is signed up.
As the agency hears public comment on the proposed rules, I, as moderator, reserve the right to limit each comment if they become repetitive. Please limit your comments accordingly. I will summarize the substance of the proposed rules into the record. So, Rule 0440-01-.03 curriculum is amended by adding subsection F. which states the 300 clock hours, 9 credit hours of classroom instruction and practical experience required of an applicant for an eyelash specialist license shall include a curriculum developed by the school and shall be controlled by TCA Title 62, Chapter 4, including 62-4-110. Section Rule 0440-01-.04 is amended by changing the title from high school equivalence to high school equivalency credential. Sections 1, 2, and 3 are removed, and new section 1 is inserted stating, for the purpose of determining whether an applicant for a license to instruct in a cosmetology has received a high school diploma or a high school equivalency credential, the board will consider whether the diploma or high school equivalency credential is approved by the State Board of Education or its equivalent agency, and the state where it was issued. Section 2 is added. For the purpose of determining whether an individual may be enrolled in a cosmetology school, the school will be responsible for verifying that each student is qualified to be enrolled as a student prior to the student's enrollment in the school. Each school is responsible for verifying that each student has properly completed the necessary education requirements prior to enrollment, including verifying the student has completed the necessary level of education and or attained the required scores on any high school equivalency tests pursuant to TCA 62-4-122. Rule 0440-01-.13 Fees. Section 2 is amended by adding subsection F titled Eyelash Specialist, and the cost of that original license is listed as $60. Section 3 Renewal is amended by adding section F Eyelash Specialist, $60. Section 4 Part A, or Section 4, Penalty for Late Renewal, Part A, is amended. Cosmetologist, manicurist, instructor, esthetician, natural hairstylist, and eyelash specialist, $25. Section 5, Cosmetology, manicure, skincare, natural hairstylist, manicure, skin care, or eyelash service shops. Section 7 is amended. Replacement or correction of license. Section B, change of name by any cosmetologist, esthetician, manicurist, instructor, natural hairstylist, shampoo manicurist, or eyelash specialist, $10. I would like to draw your attention to rule number 0200-01-.08 is retitled from educational equivalent to high school equivalency credential. Section 1A, B, Section 2, and Section 3 are removed and replaced with Section 1. For the purpose of determining whether an applicant for a certificate of registration as a master barber has received a high school diploma or a high school equivalency credential, the board will consider whether the diploma or high school equivalency credential is approved by the State Board of Education or its equivalent agency in the state where it was issued pursuant to TCA 62-3-110. Section 2. For the purpose of determining whether an individual may be enrolled in a school of barbering, The school will be responsible for verifying that each student is qualified to be enrolled as a student prior to the student's enrollment in the school. Each school is responsible for verifying that each student has properly completed the necessary education requirements prior to enrollment, including verifying the student has completed the necessary level of education and/or attained the required scores on any high school equivalency tests pursuant to TCA Section 62-3-123. Now that I have summarized the substance of the proposed rules into the record, Ms. Gamusio, were any written comments received by the board office for the rule amendments to Tennessee Comp Rules and Regulations 0440-01 and Tennessee Comp Rules and Regulations 0200-01?
There were no written comments received by the board.
Before I take public comments, I will read comments that my colleague Jesse Gentry received via email prior to this hearing. To date, we have only received one comment from Miss Emily Richardson, a licensed cosmetologist. The comments to the rules is provided for you in the documentation we sent before the meeting. I will go through each comment and its response, and the board will then be permitted to provide comment. Emily Richardson's comment regarding the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners rulemaking hearing February 5th, 2024. Hello, my name is Emily Richardson, and I have a question regarding the requirements of becoming an eyelash specialist. I have been licensed as a cosmetologist for almost 3 years. I was doing lash extensions up until I took maternity leave. My question is, with the new rules regarding eyelash specialists, will someone who is already licensed, such as myself, need any more requirements to be able to continue doing this service, or does this only apply to people still in school? Thank you in advance. The response. Hi, Emily. The new eyelash specialist requirements are only for individuals and shops that will solely provide eyelash services. Licensed cosmetologists and estheticians will still be able to provide eyelash services. Thank you for your inquiry and happy holidays. Does the board have a comment on that statement from Miss Emily Richardson?
No comments.
Are there any public comments from those present at today's meeting? I do not see any comments written down on the sheet. Lastly, there are several measures I will need to adopt by motion and roll call vote as required by TCA Section 4-5-222. First, I will need a motion to adopt the hearing rules language as amended. If amended, state the amendments on the record.
I have one question. My name is Rebecca Russell. So 0440-01-.04 in item 1, I feel like a word has been omitted. For the purpose of determining whether an applicant for a licensure to instruct in a cosmetology school.
Any other proposed amendments? Do I have a motion to adopt the hearing rule language?
So moved. David McElreath, so moved.
Aim Petty, second.
Thank you. Next, I will read the regulatory flexibility. Okay, yes.
Members, we'll do roll call vote for each of these motions by roll call vote to accept the motion by David McElreath and seconded by Lane Petty to accept as we at this stage. Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Becky Russell.
Yes.
Tamika Turner.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley. Yes. Ryan Timmons. Anita Charlton.
Yes.
Lane Petty.
Yes.
Monica Lemons.
Yes.
And David McElreath and Perry Baldwin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, I will read the regulatory flexibility addendum. Pursuant to TCA 4-5-401 through 4-5-404, prior to initiating the rulemaking process, all agencies shall conduct a review of whether a proposed rule or rule affects small businesses. These rules may have a minor impact on small businesses by creating more flexibility for licensees to enter the job market as either an eyelash specialist or eyelash services shop owner. The board does not anticipate a cost for the administration and enforcement of these rules. These rules may have a minor impact on small businesses by creating more flexibility. Excuse me, I already read that. Further, the requisite education and training requirements for the eyelash specialist license will require the applicant to return to learn proper sanitation techniques specific to that field, resulting in safer services offered to consumers. The board knows of no other less restrictive or burdensome means than through the promulgation of these rules as amended. These rules are in response to statutory changes made with the passage of Public Chapters 114 and 214. These rules are like states that regulate the cosmetology industry, which differentiate between cosmetologists and those individuals who desire to provide only eyelash services without the additional education and expense involved in first procuring a license in cosmetology. However, these rules are not modeled on the content of a federal rule or a rule from another jurisdiction. The board does not anticipate the need for a possible exemption of the requirements in the proposed rules for small businesses, since the proposed rules do not directly impact small businesses or create additional costs. I will now need a motion to adopt the regulatory flexibility addendum.
David McElreath makes a motion to adopt it.
Monica Lemons. I'll make a second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second by roll call vote to adopt the regulatory flexibility addendum. Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Becky Russell.
Yes.
Tamika Turner.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley. Yes. Ryan Timmons.
Yes.
Anita Charlton.
Yes.
Lane Petty.
Yes.
Monica Lemons.
Yes.
David McElreath.
Yes.
Perry Baldwin. Thank you. Beautiful.
I will now read the impact on local government statement pursuant to TCA 4-5-228. The Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners foresees no impact on local governments. I will now need a motion to adopt the impact on local government statement.
David McElreath will make the motion to adopt it.
Aim Petty, second.
Thank you. By roll call vote to adopt the local government statement. Ron Gillihan.
Yes.
Becky Russell.
Yes.
Tamika Turner.
Yes.
Amy Tanksley. Ryan Timmons.
Yes.
Anita Charlton.
Yes.
Lane Petty.
Yes.
Monica Lemons.
Yes.
David McElreath.
Yes.
And Perry Baldwin. Thank you.
I will now read the answers to the questions required by the Joint Government Operations Committee. All agencies, upon filing a rule, must also submit the following pursuant to TCA 4-5-226I1. A brief summary of the rule and a description of all relevant changes and previous regulations effectuated by such rule. The proposed rule amendments include regulations for the newly created eyelash specialist license, as well as update the language regarding the qualifying education to comply with statutory changes. Specifically, new definitions, application, and education requirements, as well as apprenticeship hours for the eyelash specialist license are proposed. Additionally, the language in the cosmetology and barber sections of the rules removes specific types of high school education and is amended to generally state licensees are required to have high school equivalency credential approved by the State Board of Education. B. A citation and brief description of any federal law or regulation or any state law or regulation mandating promulgation of such rule or establishing guidelines relevant thereto. Governor Bill Lee signed Public Chapter 114 into law on April 4th of 2023 and Public Chapter 214 into law on April 25th, 2023. Following the passage of the chapters, these rules were necessary to reflect the statutory amendments passed by the General Assembly. There is no known federal law or regulation mandating promulgation of such rule or establishing guidelines relevant thereto. C. Identification of persons, organizations, corporations, or government entities most directly affected by this rule, and whether those persons, organizations, corporations, or government entities urge adoption or rejection of this rule. The rule amendments impact current and future eyelash specialist licensees. The proponents of this rule include industry stakeholders and members of the cosmetology industry who believe these rules will result in flexibility for individuals with specific interest in providing eyelash services to work in the industry without pursuing a cosmetology license, which requires additional education and expenses. The board does not foresee a particular segment of opponents to these rule amendments. D. Identification of any opinions of the Attorney General and reporter or any judicial ruling that directly relates to the rule or the necessity to promulgate the rule. There are no known opinions of the Attorney General and reporter or any judicial rulings that directly relate to this rule. E. An estimate of the probable increase or decrease in state and local government revenues and expenditures, if any, resulting from the promulgation of this rule, and assumptions and reasoning upon which the estimate is based. An agency shall not state the fiscal impact is minimal if the fiscal impact is more than 2% of the agency's annual budget or $500,000, whichever is less. There is no foreseeable probable increase or decrease in state and local government revenues and expenditures resulting from the promulgation of these rules. F. Identification of the appropriate agency, representative, or representatives possessing substantial knowledge and understanding of the rule. Joseph Wharton, Associate General Counsel for the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. Roxana Gumucio, Executive Director for the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. Identification of appropriate agencies, representative, and representatives who will explain the rule at a scheduled meeting of the committees. Joseph Wharton, Associate General Counsel for the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners, and Roxana Gumucio, Executive Director for the Tennessee Board of Cosmetology and Barber Examiners. H. Office address, telephone number, and email address of the agency representative or representatives who will explain the rule at a scheduled meeting of the committees. Joseph Wharton, address 500 James Robertson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee 37243. Phone number 615-253-1837. Email joseph.wharton, WHARTON, @tn.gov. And then Roxana Gamusio, address 500 James Robertson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee 37243. Phone number 615-532-7081. Email roxana.gumucio@tn.gov. Any additional information relevant to the proposed rule, to the rule proposed for continuation that the committee requests. There is no known additional relevant information. I will now need a motion to adopt the additional information for the Joint Government Operations Committee.
Adopt. My name's Lane.
David McReith will do a second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Lane Petty and a second motion by David McElreath by roll call vote to adopt the additional information given to the Joint Operations Committee. Ron Gillihan?
Yes.
Becky Russell?
Yes.
Tamika Turner?
Yes.
Amy Tanksley?
Yes.
Ryan Timmons?
Yes.
Anita Charlton?
Yes.
Lane Petty?
Yes.
Monica Lemons?
Yes.
David McElreath?
Yes.
Terry Baldwin?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
That concludes this rulemaking hearing. Following this hearing, the rules will be 1, held for additional comments and or rerouted if substantive changes, but if not, then put on rulemaking form SS 077039, submitted to the governor's office for final review, and then submitted to the Attorney General's office for review and approval. Once Attorney General's signature is obtained, these are filed with the Secretary of State and generally become effective 90 days from the date of filing after receiving a positive recommendation from the Joint Government Operations Committee. Thank you for being here and have a great day.
Joe, if I could, let's make sure that no one on Teams had any questions, if that's okay. Dana, if you can hear me, are there any raised hands through our participants on Teams?
No, not at this
All right.
time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. I think we're good. Thank you. Members, before I turn it over to make sure you have anything else, the only other item I would have is, as Chairman Gillihan mentioned, the agenda is posted on the board's website at least 2 weeks in advance. If there's anyone on the public or participating through Teams that has any questions or items related to the agenda, this would be an opportunity for them to speak to the board. Otherwise, I don't have anything else. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you.
Public comments are open. If we have any, Chair reserves the right to limit comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any comments?
We do.
Hearing no comments, public comment period is closed. Members, do we have any other information or anything we need to discuss? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Safe travels home.
Thank you.
I had invited the student members in the back. If you or your instructors would like, you're welcome to come up around the dais as we're finished.